Fine got purchased by Microsoft, which I think is really cool.
You think it's cool?
I do, actually, because a part of me is like, oh, I love Double Fine. They don't make like my favorite games, but I love that they exist and that they're making cool stuff. And so the fact that they no longer have to like stress and worry about whether or not they can keep the doors open is nice, I think. I think the fact that Microsoft can back them a little bit more, and I think that's great.
I was wrestling with that emotionally the entire Microsoft press conference. Where were we at, JV?
My line of thinking of it is that it'll buy them some time, I guess. You know,
God. Wow.
But like, I don't trust Microsoft to like fund their games forever, right?
I don't know about forever.
Well, but I mean,
like, I think there's a general assumption of like, oh, thank God, this small company now has like a corporate company, like a big corporation backing them.
Yeah.
That means that they have a bigger budget, but that comes with costs, I think, that aren't immediately seen.
Yes, we'll never know exactly what those costs are and stuff, but I hear you. It's easy to be pessimistic about it. My heart was broken because Double Fine, and specifically like Tim Schafer is absolutely my favorite person in the game industry. Like, I love his voice out there so much.
Outside of the developer for Tokyo Gun, never mind.
Go on. Yeah, Tokyo Gun developer #1, baby. No, but absolutely, and like anything that could possibly zip up half of Tim Schafer's mouth really stresses me out. Like, I love having Tim Schafer, even if he doesn't always take the invitation. Like, he's on this podcast several times, right? But I love always being able to reach out to Double Fine, having them just be a freaky, weird voice in the industry.
Sure.
But especially tuning into the greatest game documentary of all time, Double Fine Adventure, free on YouTube right now if you want to watch it. Like, and seeing the struggles that studio has gone through just to stay afloat, there's absolutely a part of me where it's like, well, good for them. They got cash.
Right.
And they'll be safe for a while. And realistically, they probably had to do it. Like, the publisher of Psychonauts 2 was Starbreeze, which is going down in flames, a lot of people are saying, right? And so you don't know if this was the only route they could take to save not only Psychonauts 2, but the entire studio in general.
Yeah, that's where I guess I'm coming from. Because you say, like, I don't know if I trust Microsoft to keep them, like, afloat, funding their weirdo projects forever. It's like, maybe, but also, like, I get the impression that they were constantly, like, just, how do we keep bailing this ship out of water?
100%.
Like, what else can we port to Steam to make some money to fund this project we're working on? Like, I'm glad that they don't have to worry about that stress. They can at least focus on, like, making the games.
But see, the thing I'm worried about is that there is no way out. I'm concerned there's not a way out for them if things
Bungie figured it out.
That's true, they did.
Yeah, but they had Halo.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm talking, like, Ensemble Studios, you know, like Halo Wars and everything, like that whole debacle. Like, that's what I'm worried about happening to Double Fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you know, they have an easy out in a way, messaging-wise, with Tim Schafer going on stage and just making jokes about it, where he's like, hey, I'm a team player, whatever you want, my Halo game, an Excel game, like, we'll do it all. And it's like, oh, he's funny. All right, moving on. But it's like, no, there's tears behind that clown's laughter. Like, you know, like it must be a genuine fear. I'm sure that was a real gut-wrenching decision for that studio overall. Yeah. And they released a video explaining exactly what's going on. Like, Rad, their upcoming game, is still being published by Namco. If you back Psychonauts 2 on Fig for a certain other platform, like, that'll still be released for that. Unclear if it'll be released for everything wide or just if you backed it. But it's weird thinking about that connection through Fig, because Fig is also, or was also, co-owned by Fergus Urquhart from Obsidian, who made the decision recently to also sell to Microsoft. And so that boosts my confidence a little bit, just knowing that, you know, Fergus, if he got to the other side of the fence and realized it was a hellscape, he probably would have said, hey, Mr. Schafer, don't come over here, right?
Don't.
But going on the Outer Worlds cover story trip and visiting Obsidian and spending a couple days there, it really made me feel a lot better about these Microsoft purchases in general, because we were there for Outer Worlds, but there was no Microsoft PR on that trip whatsoever. There was nobody checking what Obsidian was saying, and it was just like a really good opportunity to talk to Fergus about the transition, the difficulties of the transition. It was fun literally getting into the nitty-gritty with him about just all the paperwork, and they had to dig through all the contracts Obsidian's ever signed, right? To make sure that, like, what's still lingering, what could complicate this, what do we have to figure out? Fergus, you know, he had a couple times he caught himself saying, like, you know, me and the other owners, and he'd be like, wait, no, I guess being the other founders, I had to like rephrase it. Like he's still kind of processing through that, but it seemed like Microsoft was surprisingly hands off, and I do think that's the best move Microsoft could make. Is just have Double Fine making freaky games and put it in the Game Pass. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that is tied into the goodwill of Microsoft, like trying to inspire goodwill and show we're back in the games, guys, for real. We have a bunch of first-party studios. We're going to do some great stuff. We're going to give them creative freedom. My concern is how long does that last?
Right.
Like, like that's like, not to be a nitty-gritty pessimist. Like that's what I'm concerned about, especially when it comes to Double Fine, because their games don't sell that well.
But do they need to on the Game Pass? It's just like, hey, here's a cool artsy portfolio here.
I mean, so do they intend, like, does their survival then? I mean, this is a bunch of hypothetical stuff, but does their survival then depend entirely upon this thing that might not exist 5 years from now?
Game Pass?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, you never know.
Yeah, I mean,
who could really say?
Yeah.
My main concern, I know this is effed up to say, but like, I know 2-Player Productions has been filming a lot about the development of Psychonauts 2.
Oh.
If this impedes on the release of any ounce of footage of that Psychonauts 2 documentary, I'm gonna riot. I'm
wonder
gonna go
if they're
outside Redmond.
What if they're going to see the God of War documentary and like how much people like that, and they're like, we need to have our own.
I mean,
Well,
Psychonauts 2, baby.
all right, 2-Player Productions, re-edit your entire series.
2 hours.
Yeah, we're going for a 2-hour, and could Corey Barlog be in there? We think it's better.
It's really got to get him in there. Maybe a kid.
Also, can Psychonauts 2 be as good as God of War?
Yeah, do you think that's tough? Also, it's fun to think about the full circle of Psychonauts, because Psychonauts was originally a Microsoft project for the original Xbox. They canceled it. It was picked up by Majesco, and now Psychonauts 2, it's like, actually, we need this now. We'll come back around and pick it up. It's just an insane industry.
Well, I was also along your lines. I hope that Double Fine keeps doing their Amnesia Fortnite thing.
They will.
I think that's fun. Did they
said
say
that? They will,
oh, okay.
yeah.
That's cool. Like, I'm glad to hear that.
Do you want to explain what that is?
So
Then?
you forgot.
That's like they take like 2 weeks. Do they have a set time where they do it every year? It seems
been
like it's kind of
inconsistent.
random. Yeah. But they'll take 2 weeks and they'll like everybody drops whatever they're working on and they break up into smaller teams and work on experimental projects. And some of those do end up turning into fuller games, but it's just kind of fun because they document that process of like, here's what it takes to put together a game. So those are fun to like go back and watch.
Yeah.
Kind of along that like documentary style. And then you can go play those games too.
yeah, it's fun to hear, because I feel like that's the most open case of like a company doing game jams. Like developers all over do game jams, and I'd love to see more of those, like the prototypes of games that are never like become studios games. Like I'd love to see more of those just out and about in the wild.
Yeah.
And are they making money on Amnesia Fortnite somehow?
No.
Like they're not really selling those games. I don't think they're making a ton of ad revenue off of those documentaries.
I feel like they sold the first one, right? Like the first like grouping of them.
Bundle
Yeah,
or something.
It was a
I think
long
they-
In
time
terms
ago.
of making money like financially, I don't think that's funding
But it's an
anything.
investment for the future.
Well, that's
'cause
what
you
I'm saying.
Build up those
I'm
team
glad
leads
that
and
they
stuff,
see that
yeah.
as an investment worth taking.
Yeah, just like Microsoft saw Double Fine as an investment.
That's right.
Which, by the way, call back to last week on the podcast. Somebody pointed out on Twitter, you were saying Double Fine, it's your E3,
It's your
baby.
year.
Turns
That's right.
out it is Double Fine's E3. They were the stars of the
Impression,
show.
yeah.